Hey y'all, what is up? And welcome back to the show. As we said at the top, this is the Back Porch Sports Podcast with your man Fonz.
Quan, what's up?
Man, I can't call it, man. I went to sleep a happy man. It was Sunday night, right there.
Oh,
It was
that's
pretty
good.
good. You know, we
Yeah.
had to tame them lines real quick because they were
Oh,
lying.
y'all darn sure did do that.
They
Y'all
were talking
tamed them,
out the
buddy.
side of their neck, so we had to
Sure
go let them
was.
had.
I wasn't expecting that for a 5-1 team, but
Hey,
mm-hmm.
sometimes you go to the bank. Sometimes you might not get out of there with your money. I'm just saying.
I'm
But
trying to tell you, brother. I know all about it.
yes, sir.
Man, I had to put a hold on that check, man.
Boy, I try to tell
Yeah.
you, put a 2 day hold on a.
Yeah, 2 days, 7 days.
Oh Lord, they don't went up. That's why when I go to the bank, I tell them just deposit that into my checking account. I don't
Yeah,
even.
huh?
But we gonna go ahead and just do something a little different. So, all right, we got a question. It was kind of birthed out of looking at YouTube, basically. Let's talk about the Broncos this episode. This episode is dedicated to the Denver Broncos
Mm.
and their fall from grace.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
who is more responsible? Is it Sean Payton or is it Russell Wilson? I'll let you go and share your story. Testify.
Well, I would like to start this off with a real broad statement
Mm-hmm.
by saying it's a franchise issue. But in regards to that, I'll say that Sean Payton is
Mm-hmm.
not having the effect I thought he would have on this franchise.
Right, right.
Also, also from a defensive standing point, it seems to me that the former coach in Denver, which was Nathaniel, who was fired for going having a poor season of 4-11,
Mm-hmm.
had more success with this defense than Payton. But that's really not a point to make.
Go ahead.
Out of 229 games that Sean Payton coached the legendary Drew Brees,
Mm.
Russell Wilson has the worst QBR with Payton than Brees ever had.
Mm.
Also, going back to that defensive statement I went to, the defense is unrecognizable,
Mm-hmm.
going from 25th in total defense.
Mm-hmm.
2022, they 210 yards passed in the game, 109 yards rushing, and they was 13th in points per game. And this is with Nathaniel, who was fired this
Okay.
offseason. Now, fast forward to this year, Broncos are first in total defense, which is horrible, giving up 257 passing yards a game, 167.3 rushing yards a game, and allowing
Yeah.
31 points a game,
That's
which
that
may
that
be a
that.
little inflated.
Yeah, I'm about to say
Due
that's a little
to
inflated because
a
they
little
gave up
inflated, but
70. But all right,
right, but that ain't got nothing to do with me. That ain't got
nah,
nothing to do with me.
I won't there. I won't there.
In my honest opinion, though, I think Sean Payton definitely plays somewhat of a part in the Denver struggles. But again, I will say that the Denver Broncos have not been given any good skill players on the offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Wilson has been sacked 20 times this season, and that same offensive line had Wilson on his back a lot last season, leading the league with 55 sacks last year.
Mm-hmm.
And Wilson is number 4 right now with 20.
Oh, he's on pace to shatter
Also,
that.
yeah, shout out to that pretty much. According to PFF, out of 35 quarterbacks, Russell Wilson um, has the third longest time to throw, but he's not attacking. It's a weird quarterback coach marriage. But if you look at week 5, Payton stopped trusting Wilson so much
Oh.
and has um, run the 4th most screens in the league. And on 3rd and 7, which is typically after you done ran your first 2 plays, say for instance you run the ball first down and second down.
Right.
Now it's time for your quarterback to drop back in the pocket. Well,
Mm-hmm.
in that regard, um, he has the second most screens on 3rd and 7+ situations. So Sean Payton is not letting Russell Wilson pretty much operate the offense. He's trying to do his best to keep the ball out of his hands, which you know that's neither here nor there.
That's neither here nor there.
But yeah, Payton has not trusted Wilson and keeping them in the pocket. Like I said, going back to those screens, fourth most in the league in screens and second most in 3rd and 7 situation. I think this kind of falls on Sean because yes, Russell Wilson is not great at times, but the contract that Denver gave him was for him to be an A+ quarterback. That's an A+ quarterback type contract. And right now he's like B. He's playing at a B+ C- type thing. But anyways, no matter he got to trust him more. They losing games, I feel like, because of the lack of productivity on the offensive side. Now we all know that Russell Wilson is short, just like his former quarterback. Sean Payton is very familiar with that. That's probably why they brought him over.
Right.
But Drew Brees was a on-time schedule type quarterback, a rhythm.
I think he was shorter.
And shorter. But he's an on-time. He's got to give him a rhythm. Russell Wilson isn't like that, and I don't think he was never built like that. So I feel like Sean Payton has to be held accountable for not structuring the offense to help Russell Wilson to succeed, because I think that's part of his mission here is to find out whether he can rebirth his career. And I feel like he's kind of struggling in that right now, but I'll let you give your take.
All right. So I respectfully disagree with your take. Here's why. This, my friend, my brother, we've been rocking together for a minute, right?
Yeah.
This is not a Russell Wilson problem. This is not a Sean Payton problem. This is not a Nathaniel Hackett problem. This is not a Vic Fangio problem. This is not a Vance Joseph problem. This is not a Gary Kubiak problem. This is the fault of the Denver Broncos themselves. They chatterbob themselves. Consider the following. Since winning the Super Bowl 50 to be exact, they are 44-70. After Peyton Manning, you had a Trevor Siemian. I think Drew Lock was their quarterback at one point. During the Peyton Manning era, you had a, what's his name? Help me out. Brock Osweiler. So you let Brock Osweiler go to the Texans. Okay. So after that, you have Drew Lock, Joe Flacco, Trevor Siemian. That's your starting quarterbacks, okay? From 2016 to last year, let's go down the list. 9-7, 5-11, 6-10, 7-9, 5-11, 7-10, 5-12 last year. They let John Elway pretty much run that team till he got relieved of his duties. They changed owners because I think the owner passed away. I get that. Now, let's bring it on home. Let's bring it on back. So I say this is a Denver Broncos problem because they did not put that team. They did not have a contingency plan after Peyton Manning. They thought they had a plan, but they did not. In my opinion, these were the criteria for a Denver Broncos starting quarterback. The first one is you have to take part in or win a Super Bowl before you even come to that team. So that's Peyton Manning, Joe Flacco, Russell Wilson. You have to have been in the MVP conversation or at least won it. So Russell Wilson has been in the MVP conversation, as well as Peyton Manning has won multiple MVPs. You have to come from a proven winner. Peyton Manning from the Colts, which was by far a winner. Joe Flacco from the Ravens, he got traded to the Broncos, and then Russell Wilson got traded to the Seahawks. So they used a lot of capital to get these last two quarterbacks. And of course, you got to wife up a R&B singer, the only one that met that criteria was one, Russell Wilson. Here is my problem with your boy. It's not the fact that he can't play, because I mean, yeah, he's on a noticeable decline. We seen that in Seattle. His last year in Seattle was not spectacular. The year before that was not spectacular either. Even though he was on an MVP trajectory, but he got beat out by Lamar Jackson. But we ain't gonna go there. His numbers are not bad, but they weren't the greatest. To me, he was a game manager, because you remember he had Marshawn Lynch and he had the Legion of Boom, the otherworldly defense. They had a good 3-4 year run. Here's my thing. He, like I said, he requires that. And on top of that, it's a psychological thing with Russell Wilson. If he spent less time listening to what Future is saying about him on the mixtapes, he could bring his standard of play up. Just a little bit. All he got to do, it's a little bit he got to do. I'm sure, and I see this on TikTok this morning with, what's his name? Carlos Miller. I think that's his name from 85 South. Yeah. Shout out to them guys. He said the same thing. Like, Russell was a problem, his Future. He let Future get in his head. And, you know, everybody's seen the memes and seen the videos and stuff, so I ain't going to go into all that. But as I was saying before, I was rudely interrupted by technology. Russell Wilson is petted by Roger Goodell. You have not seen nobody sitting in the box during the Super Bowl with the owner of the league. You might have seen Gronkowski, but consistently, Russell Wilson is up there with Goodell. And on top of that, all the stuff that's coming out about Russ, the office, the Sean Payton telling him that he ain't a politician and all that other good stuff. Yeah, it could be said that I'm piling on Russell Wilson, but the real enemy of the Broncos is the Broncos themselves. They chatterbob themselves, and they're going to. They gave up all this draft capital to get these players that's over the hill, and think they're going to. They think that's sustainable, and it's not. So that's my take.
so with that, like, because I feel like Sean Payton is kind of forcing that Drew Brees offense on Russell Wilson, and it's not working. It's not working. Like I said, they he has some time to throw. But if you look at the plays that's designed, it's nothing downfield. They throwing underneath. They throwing within 5-6 yards. That's not good, and it shows when you only have 95 yards against Kansas City Chiefs, or 196 yards against the Jets. But that's a good defense. But still, I mean, Russell Wilson is a Pro Bowl quarterback who's won Super Bowl, who has had success, who, had a good defense last year, as far as total yards, But
they ain't giving no 70 points either.
They ain't giving no 70 points. And it's just I faulted Sean Payton, because I felt like I said, that effect that he should have on him. Sean Payton is a very intense type of guy.
Yeah, he's an old school coach.
Yeah, he I wouldn't call him stuck up, but he's just tough. He's tough. He's just intense. He's
just what coaches was back in the day when I was coming up. You know what I'm saying? They was hard. They was like, yo, it's gonna go my way or no way at all. And Russell Wilson, he's a diva. He got divitude. So he had to try to rein that in before he really could do anything. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So what do you think is the solution for them to possibly maybe turn around this season?
Honestly, this season cannot be turned around. It cannot. You got to think about it. You're in the division with Patrick Mahomes. The Raiders ain't doing nothing. The Chargers, they overrated. So it's basically the Chiefs division. You got to get past them to get to the playoffs anyway. The way the AFC is looking right now, even if they turn it, string together a few wins. It's not going to be enough.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying
Next year,
it'll be enough.
It's time to cut somebody loose. You can't keep going through head coaches year after year.
Especially not Sean Payton. I think Russell Wilson will go before Sean Payton goes.
That is the truth. But see, they got all that money tied into Russell Wilson, so the most they could do is trade him. Don't nobody want him.
But he has to be like I watched some film on certain play calls that'll be called, and this goes back into my point of why I'm blaming Sean Payton. Well, it was one play where Jerry Jeudy was running like a hitch route, and Russell Wilson's in trouble. Most wide receivers would try to break free. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Try to create space.
Right.
This offense is barely like they kind of remind me of my Pittsburgh Steelers. Not this past Sunday because they did the thing. You know what I mean? But it looks like a high school offense. It doesn't look like a pro football offense.
But check this out. I'm glad you said something about their offense. You said something about the play you saw this year. Let me talk about a play from last year. I believe it was Thursday Night Football. The Broncos are able to win that game if they do the right thing. What did they do? He threw it to the other team. Sean Payton won't there.
No.
Now we can say Nathaniel Hackett was trash. Nathaniel Hackett came from Green Bay, so he had Aaron Rodgers. Basically, he was Aaron Rodgers' offensive coordinator. That's how he got the job.
Yeah,
he stayed there 1 year.
Right.
Russell Wilson been there. Come on now, Russell Wilson. He was there last year with 2 different coaches. At some point, we got to put the blame on the organization for allowing this bull job to happen.
Yeah, that's true, and I agree. And I agree with it. It's a lot of fingers that can be pointed. It can be pointed at Russell Wilson for not playing good at times. It could be pointed at Sean Payton for not taking his authority that he has and making those changes either in the play calling or in personnel changes.
Right.
And it could be an organizational thing where we see where you named out the list of stacks historically have not just been good. They way under 500 since the last Super Bowl win. But when I look at the Denver Broncos right now, and I'll see the personnel because their personnel may not be great, but it's not bad. I mean, you look at the Jets. The Jets got Zach Wilson. I mean, you put Aaron Rodgers in there to be better, and their personnel was better on the defensive side of the ball. Which is why they are better defensive team. But you look at the Broncos, I mean, they kind of have good personnel scattered on the offense and defensive side of the ball, and it's still not
good enough. Here's the thing.
And their run game is
instead of mortgaging my future for Russell Wilson, who's already at that time been in the league for 10 years. This is what they gave up for him. They sent Noah Fant and Drew Lock. Right? They had to give up a 2022 and a 2023 first round pick, a 2022 and 2023 second round pick, and a 2022 fifth round pick. So essentially, you put a huge gamble on a aging quarterback. He was already 30 when they traded for him. They bet the farm and lost. So yeah, the offense is not good. The schemes are not good. Sean Payton, he's coaching like he still got Drew Brees, which he don't. You know what I'm saying? He's still coaching like Jerry Jeudy is Michael Thomas or Marcus Colston or Mark Ingram. He still think he got those boys. You know what I'm saying? He still think he got Reggie Bush down there, but he don't. Yeah. The fact of the matter is the Broncos got in their own way. They could have started a dynasty. They could have ran the AFC East before we even knew about a Patrick Mahomes, which they did for a few years.
Right.
And they could have kept that dominance had they went and planned for life after Peyton. Remember, they got Peyton. He was like 36 years old.
Yeah.
And he had now granted, he had his best statistical year with the Broncos in 2013, but went to the Super Bowl and laid an egg against those Seahawks and that same Russell Wilson, which is crazy. But they gonna have to do something.
That's why I'm faulting Sean Payton, especially after you had a full off season.
That's true.
With Russell, the play calling should be better. I mean, like I said, Russell does not play good sometimes, and I think that's all quarterbacks. A lot of quarterbacks don't play good at times. We would just, if you look at some of our big dummies, we didn't name Josh Allen. Josh Allen is probably a walking Hall of Famer when he finishes one of these days. But
last week he was a big dummy.
Yeah, but I fought Sean Payton because you had a full off season. They brought you here to rebirth and help Wilson get back to that Pro Bowl Russell Wilson that we know. No, he may not have the Legion of Boom behind him and Cam Chancellor and all them guys, but I mean, those days are over for a lot of teams. I mean, you don't see too many elite defenses anymore.
Unless you represent a dog. Well.
Yeah, I'm trying to tell you. So that's why I'm following Sean Payton for not all of it. I wouldn't say all of it, but I'll say at least 75 to 80% of it, because we gave you a full offseason to think of some plays for this guy. And I mean, he's short in some plays that I also seen where he's looking at one side of the field. He can't see over the offensive line in the middle because those offensive linemen are giants. So he can't really see.
Right.
And like we was just talking about, you don't have Drew Brees no more. you don't have that coachable quarterback anymore. But you got to make him coachable, and that's what they brought him. We didn't bring you out of retirement for us to be 1-2-5.
Is it possible that Russell Wilson is just not coachable?
I mean,
I've seen stories.
I mean, I can say that, but then again, you got Pete Carroll, Russell Wilson is making Pete Carroll look like a good coach, and he is, because I mean, he didn't rebirth Geno Smith. Who in the world is Geno Smith?
Who would have thunk it?
I mean, nobody. So, and Sean Payton is just as good as a coach as Pete Carroll. We can bring that up.
But we've never seen Sean Payton without Drew Brees.
Exactly. But
we've seen Russell Wilson without Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll. If you look at I saw a clip somewhere where Marshawn Lynch was talking about it. Like, Pete Carroll kind of coddled Russell Wilson. So that's why Russell brought that diva mentality to Denver, and Sean Payton was like, nah.
Right.
We don't do that here.
Right.
To be honest, you can blame everybody.
You can. You
can blame everybody.
I'm trying.
I could go all day. And be like, Russell Wilson got future on his mind. That's why his mind jacked up. But he already came in a diva. I could say Sean Payton coaching like he still got Drew Brees, but we ain't never seen him without Drew Brees up until this year. And he had Drew Brees for a minute. And then, but the overwhelming constant in all of that, and everything that we just talked about, is that ugly tail horse with the yellow, with the orange and blue. That's what's the overwhelming constant. They failed that team. Come on, man. Look, yeah, they did it for Peyton Manning. They gave him everything he needed. They gave him everything.
The defense was much better too. I will say that.
I mean, Von Miller on one side, DeMarcus Will on the other side.
Yeah, ain't no winning with
the no-fly zone. Y'all remember that, the no-fly zone? For like 2 years, them boys were tough. It comes a time where, as football fans, we do this. We kind of do this because we love the game. But it comes a time as football fans, and I'm talking to y'all, that, you know what I'm saying, we need to stop putting these players up on the pedestal and start looking at these organizations and what they're doing.
Right.
And if you're a Denver
That's
fan,
true.
please hit us up in the comments and please tell us what you think. You know what I'm saying? Because y'all got royally screwed, honestly. I mean, your
Oh,
organization royally screwed
yeah.
y'all. That organization really done some damage. But go ahead.
I wanted to, because Drew Brees was with San Diego from '01 to 2005.
Yep.
Okay. Now his first season he only played one game,
Mm-hmm.
but from 2000. Okay, so I'm not even going to talk about the second year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna aim towards more of his last 2 years in San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
He had a 65.5 completion percentage. He threw for over 3,000 yards, had 27 touchdowns, and seven interceptions. The last year in San Diego, he had 64.6 completion rating, over 3,500 passing yards, 24 touchdowns, and 15 interceptions. Now, when I go to Wilson, and I'll take the last 2 years he had in Seattle, I see that he got 4,000 yards, 40 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, 25 touchdowns. The last year in Seattle, 6 interceptions with 64.8 completion rate. And the last 2 years with him in Denver, his completion rating has been over 60%. His worst year was last year. He threw 11 interceptions, but he complemented that with 16 touchdowns. His QBR was horrible though.
Yeah.
But and this year we already at 4, but he got 13. So he's actually doing somewhat better. But I wanted to ask you, why? Because when Drew Brees went to New Orleans, his career kind of just it changed.
It looked like it took off, right?
it took
you
off.
ready for? Are you ready for the answer though?
But I want to know, why is Sean Payton not having the same success with Russ, being that he had one. That was a different time. I understand that too.
Different time,
and it might have been a
different
different team.
rules.
But I just want to know, as far as numbers go, the comparable numbers per se, why is Sean Payton not being successful with Russell Wilson? Like he did when he had Drew Brees.
Right. Here's the thing though. You're comparing Russell Wilson and Drew Brees in two different stages of their career. You got Drew Brees kind of sort of at the beginning. Now, one thing you didn't mention is Drew Brees suffered with injuries while in San Diego. His team, as far as the scheme, now he did have LT at some point in his career, but Marty Schottenheimer was his coach. Marty Schottenheimer loved to run the ball. And if you have a LaDainian Tomlinson, a prime LaDainian Tomlinson, come on. I mean, you got to run him till he can't run no more. And then too, like you kind of alluded to, the league was different. You could run the ball and play defense. So your quarterback don't have to throw for astronomical numbers like they do now.
Right.
See what I'm saying? Like look at somebody like Brett Favre. I know he's not part of the conversation, but this dude can throw 36 touchdowns, maybe 15 picks, about 3,900 yards, and win the MVP. Right. Nowadays, you got to throw 50 nowadays. You know what I'm saying? But getting back to Russell's last year, he was 25-8. He didn't really throw his first interception in what was the year? Let's go back to 2019. He didn't throw his first interception to like midway the season. But see, right there, 2019, 2020, between 2016 and 2020, that's where he peaked.
Oh yeah,
he got 4,000 yard seasons. But think about it. 2016 he threw for 4,200 yards, 21 touchdowns to 11 picks. The next year, 17, 34 to 11. The next year, 35 to 7. The next year, 31 to 5. 2020, another 4,200 yard season, 40 to 13. And then too, he had better weapons. Tyler Lockett he's underrated. I'm sorry. They people might bash me for it, but Tyler Lockett was underrated.
What?
He was underrated to me, because they ain't really talk about him like that. Who he had to contend with as far as wide receiver around that time? Antonio Brown. Who else?
That's it. That's all you had to say. No,
Mike Williams. Was it Mike Evans? Mike Evans. What's dude with the Chargers?
Michael Thomas might have been.
Michael Thomas was that dude at one point. He had to contend with that. So Tyler Lockett was good for that system. But the thing is, though, once he went to Denver, it dropped off. He's on the decline.
Yeah.
He's on a serious decline.
He has, he really got one weapon. Russell Wilson got one weapon, and that's Jerry Jeudy. But he has to be, instead of doing all that whining about there's a lot of other stuff going on, be the solution and not the problem.
Come on, that's it. That's a sermon right there. Be the solution and not the problem.
Not the problem, right? But neither here nor say. I think Sean Payton is probably a little at fault at this. If I hire you, nevertheless, we'll come back to this one of these days.
We can revisit. Yeah, I feel like we can really revisit that one. Let's see what they're going to continue to do. Let's see if they can pull it over. And let us know in the comments, guys. Let us know, what do you think is the problem with Denver? Is it the organization as a whole? Is it Sean Payton? Or is it Russell Wilson? Like I said, personally, I think it's all three. Yeah, I think it's all three. But we can go ahead and end it right here because, technology is, what. So, good show, man. Good show.
Oh, yeah.
Again, thank you guys for engaging with us and, watching the videos and liking and everything. We really appreciate y'all, but do us a favor. If this content is really, really good, in your opinion, if it's really, really good, keep hitting them likes. And also, if you want to know when we upload the video, hit that little bell. It looks like a little booby. Just hit the bell. And that way you'll understand where we coming from and you know when we put the videos up. So you got anything you want to add, man, before we go?
Not at all.
Hey, man, this has been Back Porch Sports Podcast with your man Fonz
and Quan.
And we out, y'all.